Hey folks, Quilly Team here, and let's talk about Star Trek Infinite. This is a newly announced game that's going to be published by Paradox, and it is an officially licensed Star Trek game. One thing that's notable about this to people who have played other, say, Paradox Grand Strategy or perhaps Sci-Fi 4X game is this user interface should look very familiar. That's right, this game is going to be built on the Stellaris engine, which I think is kind of an excellent decision. Stellaris, of course, is a stupendously good, wonderful, either grand strategy or 4X game, depending on how you want to consider it, empire management strategy game. And Star Trek Infinite is indeed going to be an empire management game set in the Star Trek universe around the era of Star Trek The Next Generation, and you can play one of four major factions. You can play as the Federation, the Romulans, the Cardassians, and the Klingons. Each one of these will also have, if we tab through over here, there appears to be mission trees that are going to be available for these. So all of a sudden, right away, we're into something that's different from baseline Stellaris in that we have mission trees, and we get some familiar faces over here as well in the Federation tree here. Build the Enterprise and Hyron, Troy, LaForge, Data, Worf. And we got Crusher as well, and then finally upgrading it later on. Quite lovely. I mean, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, so I'm really excited to see what we've got there. I've dabbled with the Star Trek mod for Stellaris before, the unofficial one, which is a really, really nice product, but it's also nice to see something that is going to be sort of intentionally licensed right from the start, and we'll see how that goes. The interface here, again, looks very similar, very familiar to anyone who's ever played Stellaris before, although that looks a little bit different. Of course, at least the art on these buttons is different, even if the purpose is the same or not. It's a little hard to tell exactly what these will do and how much of the crossover there will be in our standard Stellaris experiences. Here we can see the different nations that we can play as well as different perks or different overall strengths and weaknesses, I suppose might be the way to describe it, like the United Federation of Planets, high education, diplomatic expertise, the Clan Empire, the Klingon Empire, followers of Kahless, Warriors Honor, Romulan Star Empire, we've got closet politics and state vigilance, which sounds right, and the Cardassians are reality TV stars, and wait, hold on, I'm getting confused. They have the Raider Corps and the Intelligence Zeal. They do love their spying. They have a whole group of tailors that are especially especially optimized for espionage over there. So, not a ton of factions necessarily to play as, but the big question will be how story rich, how replayable will it be for other reasons. They talk about exploring the alpha and beta quadrant. If you are playing in a established setting like that, one would assume that the map is not randomized. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if there will be options for something like that. But I mean, conceptually, if you're going this sort of storyline, the maps probably shouldn't be randomized, right? Because they should start with a defined number of stars or defined places that are already owned. It's like when you play, Europa Universalis 4, you expect France to be where France is. So one would expect the same sort of thing over here. Now, that sort of thing, if it is a non-randomized map and if there is a limited number of factions, the big question will be, how do they provide major replayability once you've played through maybe all four factions? How are you going to feel about playing some more? We're not going to know that until we've got the game in our hands, unfortunately. Contact screens here, again, looks very, very similar, sort of a reskinned Stellaris thing. And I'm not saying that as a negative. I think it's a brilliant idea, of course, to use the Stellaris engine as the basis for a Star Trek game. There's a reason that certain fan mods have been so good for Stellaris that have tried to replicate certain Star Trek-y kind of settings in the past. It makes perfect sense. So I'm very eager to hopefully at some point get our hands on this. Even the research screen is the same as regular Stellaris over here, but one would expect that the technologies would in fact be different, but we can see some of the same keywords that we're used to. Administrative capacity. Is the medical clinic going to work like a gene clinic, or is it going to be something else? Leaders clearly have levels over here, and so on and so forth. There we go, diplomacy screen. Also looks relatively similar, but with a reskin. I'm just trying to tab back over to the planet management screen. Looks like no building slots, but rather maybe a larger diversity in districts, whereas the base Stellaris has, let's say 4 districts. you know, your housing, your industrial, your minerals, your energy. Oh, and farming. Sorry, 5 districts. This does have a 6th over here, but regular Stellaris also has building slots you get Exu. This may not have that. It wouldn't surprise me, and I don't want to make any sort of judgment calls pro or con about the game. It wouldn't surprise me if when people are looking to develop something based on a major franchise like Star Trek, if they might look for ways that they can streamline or simplify the gameplay in some aspect. And so the fact that there aren't any building slots, as far as I can tell, doesn't shock me entirely. In fact, I'm mostly shocked by how much of just core Stellaris is still in the game that may be supposed to have a little bit more mass appeal. Or maybe they have faith that, you know what, Stellaris, which is a huge hit for Paradox and has sold to lots and lots of people that didn't necessarily play a lot of strategy games beforehand, maybe they have faith that that knowledge can transfer over here as well. We've certainly got like lots of little buttons on the side. At first when I saw like the city screen, I thought, oh, maybe this is something simplified user interface wide for a console kind of vibe. But I mean, when you're looking at the size of the text of things over here, this is not what you tend to see on console user interface games, because the console user interface usually has to be made bigger because you're usually seeing things from far away. This is the size of UI elements that you would see for PC games where people are standing quite close or sitting quite close to their monitor. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see there. Also interesting to me is the speed controls, which are slightly different from baseline Stellaris, which I think is, you know, all these little things. I'm like, I wonder why. Why is it like that? Why is it like this? What's the speed of the game going to feel like? And by that I mean both the actual sort of simulation speed over here, but at what pace are your ships going to traverse through the galaxy and move around on the screen here? There's a lot, and I'm hoping that there is a lot they do with the sort of science ship and anomaly kind of mechanic. That's one of my favorite things of base Stellaris, is the exploration phase of the game, where you're sending out your science ships to explore these systems and you're getting anomalies, and there's a little bit of story that happens there. Well, I mean, Star Trek is all about that. Now, maybe less so when you're talking about an Empire management game than when you're talking about like an individual ship that you're following and doing missions for. But, you know, what does it look like? How many star systems are we going to have? There's clearly star systems out over this way that don't seem to be in any Empire border in this particular screenshot. And we don't know how long, you know, is this the start of the game, or is this, you know, some amount of time into the game at this point? What is it like to explore these star systems? Can you visit stars within your Empire? Can you do an away mission? Away mission. Can you have a shore leave? That's the way I'm looking for. Over at Ryza. I don't know. I can't wait to find out. I'm sure I'm going to be covering the game once it does come out on my channel. So if you are new, of course, make sure to subscribe and hey, like this video. Always helps out the channel. And I'll see you whenever Star Trek Infinite becomes available. Bye-bye.